Paraphrasing relates quite closely, I believe, to reflecting feelings and checking your understanding. It's a slightly more zoomed out version of that, basically. So if you're with a client, you're regularly checking their understanding, making sure that your understanding is in line with where they're actually at. You're often reflecting their feelings back to them. Paraphrasing is stepping back a little bit and summarising in your own words, with your own understanding, what they've talked about over maybe the last few minutes, or basically the terrain that's been covered so far whilst talking about this particular topic. This can be really helpful sometimes because when you're talking at the edge of your awareness, which a lot of clients often do, they might not be aware of how things fit together. They might just be aware of this feeling here, and that might develop into something else, and that might turn into a different subject. But if you can step back and give them a little mini summary in your own words of the terrain that we've covered already and how those things have kind of developed into each other, that client may well not have been able to see that, how these different things fit together. And so, yeah, it can be really helpful to offer that to a client. An analogy I've often used is like running through the woods or walking through the woods. Let's say you're in an unfamiliar wood or forest, and you're walking around or running around, and you are aware of where you are right now, but you might not be aware of all the steps you've taken to get to where you are right now. And so a paraphrasing is a tracking of the terrain that you've covered already. Okay, right, so we turned right here, we carried on for 30 yards, then we veered left a little bit, and we walked onwards for another 50 yards. Because like I say, when you're talking right at the edge of your awareness, it's hard to put it into some kind of context at times. So yeah, somebody tracking where you've been, the terrain covered, and how it all fits together, and how you've ended up exploring this particular thing that you're at right now, that can be really helpful. It can help you contextualize the things that you're talking about. And of course, if you've been checking your understanding throughout, if you've been reflecting back feelings and meanings that you're picking up on and checking in if they're accurate as well, by the time that you zoom out and paraphrase, that is, cover a wider amount of terrain, then it's likely to be very impactful because it's much more likely to be accurate if you've been doing that work every step of the way. Of course, as with anything else in person-centered therapy, it's vital to speak from the I, express this as just your understanding of the situation, and make it as easy as possible for them to correct you if in fact there is anything that doesn't quite resonate with them. If you've got everything right though, and everything's accurate, it could resonate very deeply and be very helpful for them. If you paraphrase your understanding of a bunch of things though, and they tell you that some of it's not quite right, or maybe all of it's not quite right, in some ways that's good. You're getting feedback and you can correct yourself as a result. By paraphrasing and letting them correct you, you in the long run are going to end up understanding, or get as close to understanding as possible. And that's because you're expressing yourself in a way that enables the client to correct you. It's really vital that you do that and you encourage the client to correct you. If you sound too authoritative, if you express yourself as though what you're saying is fact, then they might be less likely to correct you, and the actual truth of the matter may well be that you are not with them. You've got something wrong, they don't feel comfortable correcting you, and then you're in two different places, and the therapy can be impeded by that unless it's dealt with.